Jimmy G buckets. Jimmy gets buckets. It's just that simple. The Heat pull out a Game 5 win for the ages. Danny Green, the Green Ranger, the sniper, Deadshot. Deadshot just didn't have a bullet in the chamber today. He just hasn't had a bullet in the chamber since he left Toronto, since he left Kawhi Leonard. But aside from Danny Green, the Heat deserve the credit because this series wasn't supposed to finish in 6. This series wasn't supposed to finish in 5. I thought this series was supposed to finish in 4. That's what I heard after Game 1. The Heat were out for the count. They had no chance of winning a game. I heard people say that. I commented on a post saying, look, the Lakers were hot in Game 1. I still think the Lakers are going to win the series, but the Heat are winning at least one game. Put some respect on the team that had been just as good as the Lakers all bubble long, but people continued to write them off. I don't know why people did that after they wrote them off before the regular season. They wrote them off heading into the bubble. They wrote them off heading into the second round. They wrote them off heading into the third round. Certainly wrote them off heading into the fourth round, which were the finals. And certainly wrote them off after Game 1. Everyone was calling for a sweep. After Game 2 especially, sweep. Everyone was saying that the Heat have no chance of winning a game. 3 games later, the series is now 3-2. And the thing is, if the Heat don't win another game, it goes to 6, whatever. But the fact is, people said they'd get swept. And then after they won that game, people said, oh, look, that's cute. Every other team's won a game against the Lakers. They're losing in 5. All these Lakers fans were celebrating the championship win that was inevitably going to happen after Game 5, apparently. Apparently, the series was over because there was no chance of Jimmy G buckets pulling out a 35-point triple-double. Duncan Robinson pulling out 26 points. 2 Heat players in history have had 7 threes in a playoff game. Ray Allen and someone else. Duncan Robinson has now done it twice in the same playoffs, including in the finals against the best defense in the league, the Los Angeles Lakers. The sniper, he hits everything from everywhere. Quick release, quick draw, Hall of Fame, if I've ever seen it. He doesn't have Hot Zone Hunter. He hits it from anywhere. NBA 2K references, that's a trash game, but we're still going to refer to it. Draw, Hall of Fame. That man pulls it out. Within a quarter of a second, he hits that, and it just always seems to drop in. The arc is perfect. The shot is perfect. The form is perfect. He's just a perfect shooter. He's a perfect kind of guy, Big Robinson. But I think this game's a bit different for the Heat because Game 3, it's like that's Jimmy Butler just dragging the Heat to a win. And the Lakers stars didn't dominate the game like they had previously done in every other series. LeBron had turnovers, AD had 15 points, and people were like, that's an anomaly. That's not going to happen again. Jimmy Butler's not going to have another 40-point triple-double, and the Lakers' 2 best players aren't going to struggle again. Game 5, Anthony Davis wasn't amazing. He had an ankle injury, which could come into play a bit later. We'll talk about that. But he wasn't amazing, but he was still great defensively, and he gave you probably 30 points, I think, off the top of my head, and LeBron gave you 40 points, and a 40-point triple-double, and did everything you would have expected from LeBron and more in a closeout game, and they still won, and Jimmy Butler had 35 points. He did everything, particularly defensively, which I don't think was being talked about enough. His offense has been great. He took the responsibility of guarding LeBron. I know LeBron scored 40 points, but a lot of those were on switches. Butler got a stop against him. He got a block against him. He got 2 steals in the final quarter, including one against LeBron and one against someone else, and then just kept going down the other end, hitting mid-range shots, getting to the rim, getting fouled, which it was a foul. Frank Vogel said there was 2 foul calls on him that were not fouls. The Anthony Davis one was as clear as day a foul. He jumped up. He just jumped straight into him. He didn't go up vertical. He clearly came at an angle and moved into Butler, and I didn't see the Markieff Morris one enough to suggest if it was a foul or not. But they seem to be calling those kind of ones anyway. But this is where I think the Heat have an advantage that they didn't have prior. Tyler Hero didn't have a fantastic game. He wasn't on the court for all that long. It seemed like he only played about 25 minutes. Maybe that's wrong, but he didn't seem to play the usual 35 minutes that he's been playing before. He scored 12 points. Kendrick Nunn did pull up. He had a great game. But Bam Adebayo was poor. That was a poor game by his standards. Defensively, he was alright. He had a big block at the end of the third quarter, I think. But offensively, he could not make a layup or a dunk or a free throw or anything offensively to save his life, as opposed to in the Boston series where he was just taking over the game offensively, defensively. Best player in that series by a mile. Looks like one of the best 5 to 10 players in the NBA at that point in time. And this series, obviously, he's been injured, but this game he was just dreadful. By his standards, that is. Obviously, he was still okay by an average NBA player, and they still love to have him out there. But that bodes well because I can't see him having a worse game than that, and I can't see LeBron having a much better game than that. Sure, LeBron could go for 50, but he went for 40 and he hit like 6 out of 8 threes. He did everything he could have. And then you have KCP had a good game. AD again had a solid game considering he was injured, and he's still going to be injured, which could be an issue for the Lakers going forward. If AD's injured, they could lose. Like, that's a big if. I don't think he's going to sit out, because unless he's done something very bad, which I hope not, then he's going to play even if he's on one leg, and he's going to provide more of an impact than whoever else they have that would fill in for him. But if he is injured, he has been the best player in the series prior to this game, in my opinion. I think he was the best game. I think he was the best player in games 1, 2, and 4. So to have him missing will be huge, or to have him limited will be huge, should I say. But getting back to Jimmy G buckets, I mean, what a guy. He's pulled out 2 games, 2 of the best finals performances you'll see. Offensively, defensively, 47 minutes. He sat for 49 seconds of a Game 5 elimination game after having already played 45 minutes or so the games before. Look, the Lakers are still in pole position to win. Like, don't get me wrong, they've got 2 chances to win. They've got LeBron James, who he went for 40 points. Even if Anthony Davis isn't alright, LeBron James is going to go for 35, 40 every game it takes to win these finals. And maybe he's not going to shoot as well from 3 again, but he's going to get to the rim. He's going to command double teams. And eventually those Lakers players are going to knock down shots. Maybe. I don't know. Some of them. I don't know if I have much faith in Danny Green. I don't think anyone in the world has faith in Danny Green. He even looked scared in the huddle, which was kind of sad, because I did see where they subbed him out. He looked genuinely petrified at the thought of him having to make a shot to win the NBA Finals. He hadn't made a shot in what seems like 3 years since his time in Toronto, since his time as a Spur, should we say. And now he comes in and has to make the biggest shot of his life, and yeah, he just fumbled the bag. He nearly airballed that. That was so short. It was so off, and it was wide open. But look, I just need to emphasize the Heat have been ridden off at every hurdle, and it's a cliche to say it, but like, they're just the underdogs every step of the way. And you would have thought they would have had a bit more respect heading into the finals, and then they lose 2 key players and a key creator in Goran Dragic. But they found a way to replace it with Kendrick Nunn, who had a good game. Tyler Hero's had his games. And I think going forward, the Heat have a chance at winning game 6 if Jimmy Butler can continue this insane form that he's in, which I don't see why he won't. He's doing everything that's within the realms of him as a player. He's getting to the rim, he's taking mid-range shots, he's not taking threes, he's getting to the free throw line, which he's done all year long. People complaining about him getting to the line. If you watched any regular season game, any playoff game, he's done this all year long, all season long, all playoffs long, and it's because he attacks the rim hard, fast, and he's just good at drawing contact. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not illegal to foul. Like, how many times do people have to get this in their head? If you go hard to the rim and you're an elite player, you're more than likely going to get a foul call. It happens with every single elite player. Anthony Davis was getting about 15 free throws a game in the Nuggets series, and Jimmy Butler's doing the same thing in this series, and it's working for the Heat. It's just Lakers fans were just up and about. Not even Lakers fans. Everyone in the NBA was like, oh, the Miami Heat, they suck. This is the worst finals. This isn't a final series. This is going to 4 games, and then it's going to 5 games. Now it's just going to go to 6. Oh, this is just another blip in the road. The Heat aren't going to win another game. And if they don't, it doesn't matter. They've proven everyone wrong in this final series, in the playoff series beforehand, in the playoff series beforehand, in the regular season. They've continued to do it. Jimmy Butler is a superstar. If that was ever in the question, that's been squashed. Defensively, taking the responsibility to go against LeBron James, stopping him on a few occasions, getting blocked shots, getting steals, running in transition, getting to the line, scoring clutch free throws, making every free throw in the clutch. Let's not forget about that. Making every field goal in the clutch, I think. He was just insane. And the thing about Jimmy Butler that's so good is in the post-game interview, straight away he's talking about how Duncan Robinson was the hero for the Heat because he came up with 26 points. He was expecting to see Robinson have that 26 point, that 7-3 game night. He's been talking about it. And Jimmy talks about, again, like, he doesn't care if he scores 0 points or if he scores 50, like, as long as the Heat win. And some players say that. That's a cliche answer. Like, you'd hear Kevin Durant say that. Maybe not Kevin Durant. You'd hear Steph Curry, LeBron James. All these guys will say, look, I don't really care as long as we win. I don't believe them. Jimmy, on the other hand, I genuinely believe if he had 2 points, shot 1 of 5 from the field, and the team won, he would be as happy as the next guy. He would be as happy as the guy that scored 45 points and won Finals MVP. That's just the kind of guy he is. And for people to think he was a locker room cancer, that's beyond me. That's beyond everyone at this point. That's probably one of the worst narratives in NBA history. Like, this guy is one of the best teammates in the league, if not the best teammate in the league in terms of leadership, ability on the floor, off the floor, taking people under his wing like Tyler Hero. Like, come on now, this guy's just been ridiculous for this team. One of the best free agency acquisitions in a long time. Going forward, I think I like Bam on LeBron more than any other matchup. Even though Butler took the responsibility, I think I like Bam. He got a few stops on it. He's got the physical traits to go against LeBron. I think Anthony Davis shoots over anyone, regardless of Bam. Anthony Davis is a bit too tall, a bit too long, pause for Bam, and it gives Jimmy a bit of a rest to go offensively, because he's going to have nothing in the tank if he keeps playing 48 minutes, guarding the best player on the opposition, and taking that kind of responsibility on offense. As many 3 a.m. workouts as he's done, it's just physically not going to be possible for him to keep it up at this rate. If you did enjoy the video, a like would be greatly appreciated. Trying to make this type of content regularly. Subscribe to the channel. You may as well. Anyways, other than that, Jimmy G buckets.